We'll go Kent, Katie, and Jace to start us off. Kent, go ahead.
Uh, Coach, obviously a difficult way for this to end, but you said this all along about the experience this team has gotten and how far it got given the circumstances this year. I know it's probably really difficult to have a takeaway right now, but can you look at what good happened in this season in the wake of this loss, or is it going to take a while?
Well, I just wish I wish we would have ended differently. No, it doesn't take away for sure. This was a special season, as we just shared with players, a special group that accomplished special things together. We have obviously a lot to be proud of. Nobody thought we were going to get past the Seattle Storm. We believed that we could be competitive and put ourselves in position to win. We weren't sure if it was going to happen where we win, but we were confident. Today's game was just disappointing in so many ways. I didn't necessarily see that coming, but Stewart imposed her will on the game. Probably wasn't happy how game one went, and then maybe even game two, and she came out and played great and established herself in that game. But offensively, we just got off to such a rough start. We just struggled, and obviously that set the tone for the game. And the 48 points in the paint is that's obviously not something we're very happy with. We weren't as good as you need to be in a desperation elimination game. But in terms of the takeaways, it's still pretty darn special team.
Katie, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I'm sure there are heavy emotions at the end of every season, and I'm sure there's a large part of you that's wanting to get home and go see your family and whatnot. But will there be more emotions attached to this departure because of how close this team had to get and because of the conditions of the bubble?
I'm not sure. I think there's probably so many emotions. There's the difficulty of the bubble. There's I guess if there's a silver lining in this, it's that we're leaving the bubble. I saw in other sports, when this happens, when they reunite with your family, that's the only thing that was maybe positive about your season ending was that you get to reunite with your loved ones, because it's been a lot. It's really been a lot. They sacrificed so much and handled it so great. That's why I just told them I was just so proud of them. It couldn't have gone any better for us, this experience, and all the planning on the front end, and our preparation, and just all the way through. There's the emotion, like you said, of how special of a group. You never want to see it end, because you never come back exactly the same. So next year brings something different, and there'll be some people that that won't be here, and so it's never exactly the same. But you also know this is part of playing, and it does end at some point. But nonetheless, a special group, and now we turn the page and pack up and leave the bubble.
We'll go Jason and Neil. Jace, go ahead.
Cheryl, in terms of on-court production, in what way did this team maybe pleasantly surprise you the most? In what area, I guess, maybe were they better than you thought they would be this year?
I'd have to kind of process that. What area? It was hard, because I think when we were in training camp, we had Syl. There were, probably, that's what I said about Crystal too, probably as things were happening to us, either a Karima Christmas Kelly situation or Syl situation, other injuries that happened, Lexi early on with concussion, and just how much, we had to kind of be nimble and just somebody step up and fill, all the way to the end where, we have 2 staff members not with us anymore, and Katie's got to step up, and we all got to step up and, just be there for each other. That's probably was the most impressive part, and still try to find a way to win and be successful. So I'm pleased with how hard our staff worked, the time that they put in, and with the players in such short time. You don't have, I think we had a practice yesterday, was just the 22nd practice. You typically get that, in training camp, and then maybe the first week you're at 22 practices, and that was it on the season. So if you think about that, the time in between each practice is so long. Once we got out of training camp, that you had to have ability to communicate and digest. As a coach, sit down and watch video. Everybody just poured everything into it, and as I told them when we were in training camp, you could feel it. You could feel the the chemistry that you guys have talked about so much. That I said to them, I don't know how it was going to translate into wins and losses. I just know that it's important. Every team I've ever been around that had success has that very important trait of being selfless and playing for each other and with each other, like that desire. This group had it, to a T. That's what, all the players say that was the most special part of it. And so I think that we were able to translate it into wins and be one of the top 4 teams, here in the bubble. It's really impressive.
We'll go Neil and then Chris Hine. Neil, go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned the turnovers and the points in the paint, but, what was it that Seattle did tonight or today to really disrupt your offense?
Well, we anticipated, and I probably didn't do a good enough job in practice, even though I knew that Seattle could not continue. So the battle that I had internally as a coach, knowing Seattle is a team that's going to trap you in certain situations. And they do it to everybody. They've done it for years. And so I had this, surely they have to do something different because they're leaving our shooters wide open. They're not turning us over. It's not working. But that's a dilemma sometimes as a coach. You go, why do we, if I'm Seattle, why do we have to change for Minnesota? We just got to do it better. And so we knew that there was a really strong chance they would no longer trap. And they would be in more switches, because you have to switch on the shooters. You can switch easily on Fee and Demiris and maybe, try to apply some ball pressure, double team in the post. And that's what they went to. It just took us a little bit to, took our guards a little bit to figure out how to be aggressive. And then we were in a timeout. And I said, guys, what a testament to how good you guys are that they no longer believe in what they were doing and they have done for years. And now they're switching, and that's a hell of a lot easier to play against. But it just took us a while to gain that confidence and get that aggression. Unfortunately for Rachel, just couldn't see one go down. The efficiency of our guards just was brutal. And you got to have that to try to open up things for the bigs. And I think Fee would tell you she didn't have her normal way about her. She worked through it. And finished with really impressive numbers, but we just didn't quite have the, I don't know what the right word is, but that was probably the biggest thing that they took off was their trapping, and they stayed 5-on-5 more often.
We'll go Chris and then Doug. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, how can Crystal build off of this experience, and how did you see her kind of adjust to however the game changes in the playoffs?
I just think she got such a wealth of information, and she more than anybody probably wants to go on an island and just go recover, just because of how fast and furious and success and big moments and only a day in between games and then get to the playoffs and experience success and against a really good Phoenix team who has the great Diana Taurasi that's got an incredible record in single elimination games. You climb that mountain, so to speak, and then now you're in a series that's very different. And Defensive Player of the Year candidate Alicia Clark's going to be on you. So good luck. Everything you do, good luck. And the information, from game 1 to game 2, how she applied it, and then game 2 to game 3. So that's a bright spot for us. Her evolution and things that she learned, and obviously she's got a bright future ahead of her.
We'll go Doug and then Erica. Doug, go ahead.
Cheryl, congrats on a really nice season for you guys. I know it didn't end the way you wanted, but
Thanks, Doug.
You've seen Sue Bird play for years. She obviously was banged up again this year for most of it. Was today's vintage Sue Bird? The way she was passing the ball and shooting and taking care of it, was that like the Bird of a couple of years ago before all these injuries happened?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that. I don't know that they're, other than missing a season last season. Anytime Sue plays, she's vintage Sue Bird. What Sue knew about today was that both her and Stewie, probably as they shot 33% in the first 2 games. Each of them knew that they needed to impose their will in the game, and Stewie did it in grand fashion. And then Sue did it, even though her shooting percentages aren't great, her aggression and her pace sets the tone for her team. And so in that way, very much vintage Sue Bird, in that she was in command of the game. And she does simple things really, really well. It's not complicated. And she's incredibly smart. And, she set a tone as well as Stewie. Carried them on a night that we were sure Joe Lloyd was not getting off on us, but I sure worried who would. But yeah, Sue was great.
Thanks, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Erica, go ahead.
Thank you. Aaron and Coach, first, just want to say thank you for everything throughout the season, and congrats and best of luck, of course. Coach, I was hoping that you could maybe walk us through what a traditional, general manager coach duties would look like from now till next season. And if you think that because of where we're at with coronavirus, if that will change any for you.
Yeah, obviously there's still so many unknowns, just even with college athletics. My understanding is they're scheduled to play, but as we know, we're not in charge. The pandemic is, and I'm really, really hopeful, fingers crossed, that these sports can, start to find a way to, play and for these athletes, as long as it's safe to do so. In terms of what I think will be different is what you all experience, which is we're not going to be able to be there. And so that's going to be a big time challenge, just like you all faced. You realize there's a huge difference, watching something behind a screen versus being here, all that you can see. So I think that's very much in our future, that we're not going to be able to be at games and evaluating in person. Much like I think that the college recruiters aren't watching players in person. NBA, as they prepare for their draft, unable, obviously, to, the way that the college season ended. So I think that's very much a thing. We'll plan in terms of the traditional schedule, but I think it would be really wise for us to understand that, while this bubble part of this is over, we have to continue to scenario plan around even our next season. So much is beyond our control at this point, but timeline wise, we'll plan for free agency, that sort of thing. And then hopefully, to be able to have a draft and hopefully, college players, play and the ones that are eligible for the draft are in it. So I think just a lot of unknowns. So I think the pandemic, has kind of taught us, some of the decisions that you make. I don't think you can make them as easily now. And so we've got to factor in one more thing. And who knows what, 2021 will look like. So I Erica, I wanted to, say thanks to you and all of you all. Special shout out to our locals, Kent and Katie and Neil, Jace. If I forget anybody, free, help me out, because I don't want to upset Charles Hallman, who covered all the games. Can't say enough about your resilience, because I know how difficult this has had to have been. Kent, I miss our conversations. You don't miss a trick, so I miss being around you and the rest of the crew. But I just wanted to thank you all for your incredible perseverance and coverage. Katie, especially as it pertained to the things that really mattered to so many of us here in the bubble, that were non-basketball related. So just appreciate that. Same thing for Erica as well. So thanks for sticking with us, and I guess hopefully we'll see you all at some point soon. Thank you.
We'll go. We got a couple more. We'll go.
No, we were done.
No, we got Howard, and then we'll go Kent.
I'll try and keep it painless.
Oh, you're fine.
So, I congratulations on the year that you had. I'm just hoping, in terms of keeping your GM hat on for a second, you guys have been defined for the better part of a decade by a group, with Maya, with Lindsay, and that group has largely moved on. And this has been a transition, obviously, for a couple of years. But when you look at your roster, the players who were productive for you, by and large, return next year. I wonder whether you feel like you have a definition of what this group looks like, how it's going to feel. Like you said, there'll be changes, but wonder whether you feel like that's been solidified this year and in what ways.
In terms of, the importance of, having a future, where you have players that are going to be at the core of what you're doing. I think that's something we've been very fortunate. Oftentimes when you have a group like we had that we were owed until, quote, the wheels fell off. We didn't, much like the Boston Celtics, Danny Ainge talked about, he thought that they should have made some trades and then it cost them years. It took them a long time to recover. I think that we've been very fortunate to transition from those players, those teams, into a group that we have, like that you saw this season. It's a different season. There were some teams that were missing players, but we still had to be successful. And we have some really important players that are going to be central to the franchise going forward that are on rookie deals, smaller contracts. That is absolutely vital. And then we have, the all-time greatest center, still playing. So we have some really key pieces. And I think we found some other players, or our eyes were open to some other teams. We got a good look at things. And I think there's some real clarity around, what we call desirables, players from other teams, or a path, for us in terms of what we need. Now, we can't necessarily control free agency. I mean, obviously we're going to be competing with other teams, but we have money. That's the other thing. We have money to spend. And that's the great thing, is that we're not, we kind of escape the duct taping this thing together and just trying to hold it up. We've got some really good, key pieces to, keep the franchise moving forward and keep us a playoff team and, competing, as we did here in the semifinals. They got a great taste of it. I don't know what's next. I mean, there's so many good teams in this league. Things got to go your way. Things went our way down here in the bubble. But we certainly need more.
Well, last question to Kent.
Well, Howard kind of asked my last question, but I'll just ask this one real quick. Going forward, how much do you think having the ability to have these kids in a 3-game series will accelerate the process of developing this kind of new age, second generation Lynx team going forward?
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think that, it was the thing I was most excited about. When we got our bye, got some rest, got some practice time, and try to overcome the great Diana Taurasi, single elimination. I don't know what you even call it, a wave, something, that you had to withstand. When we play, I wanted them to be in a hard playoff game and figure out how to win and advance. And so we did that. So some things like that you wish for your team happened for us. And then we were in a series. And so I think we learned a lot. And I mean, does it accelerate? I think it probably does, because I think you have to go through these experiences to get to a next step. It's not very often that you can go from second to worst to first, which is what 2010, 2011 was. But Maya Moore was a big part of that, and so we still need Maya Moore or another pretty big piece, I think, to help us along.
All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll see on our next availability with Cheryl. But we appreciate it. And we'll get Fee, Crystal, and either Demiris or Odyssey for you. Thank you.
Thanks again for everything you guys did. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.